Hello, hello, and welcome. My name is Sabrina Brightstar. I am your host, Keep Your Hand in Your Skirt podcast. If you are watching on video, I am able to share with you. I figured out how to show you the ocean. There's the ocean in my front yard. That blue, that beautiful blue, that's what I see every day. How did I manifest such an amazing life? Okay, so I've got really exciting news to share with you today. I have learned something new, and it's how our brain and our nervous system either helps us manifest our desires or prevents or blocks the manifestations or desires. It's very simple. I don't know why no one ever taught me this in school. I was thinking about that the other day. You memorize, right? All of these multiplication, these divisions, right? You memorize all this stuff, but the really important stuff, like the way you talk to yourself and how your default network is working and your sympathetic nervous system, like I don't have any knowledge of those things. So it's not challenging to learn, it's just new to learn. Can you hear that? They drive these motorcycles, they're kind of noisy. Anyway, so I want to share with you what I've learned. I was listening to a podcast between Mel Robbins and Dr. Jim Doty. I'll put the link to their podcast in the link below, or just look him up. He is amazing, amazing, amazing. He's my new favorite guy. So, okay, let me take a breath and calm down. I did not know in order to align, which makes so much sense when I'm going to share it to you. So in order to come into alignment, we need a calm, relaxed nervous system. That makes sense, doesn't it? But here's the deal. Most of us have been raised in situations where we didn't feel safe. So we have been chronically living with a dysregulated nervous system. Most all of us, especially starseeds, if you're a sensitive, an empath, a conscious way shower, most likely you have a very sensitive nervous system, and you probably were raised in an environment where you didn't feel safe. And I don't mean safe, like it doesn't have to be extreme, out of control. It can just be you never knew, like maybe like in my situation, my dad was this really great, funny guy. Everybody in the community loved him. And I always used to say about 95% of the time he was normal. But that 5%, he went from 0 to 100 in a nanosecond, and you never knew what would set it off. So never knowing when all of a sudden out of nowhere, when things look calm or normal or you don't have a clue, and all of a sudden something set him off and he is in that state, I was scared. So, and that doesn't mean like it wasn't physically abusive, but it was emotionally or energetically unsafe for me because I never knew when that would happen. But it confused me because in general, 90% of the time, he was this normal, nice guy. So that's just an example of how, as a child, as a young person, you might not feel safe. So most of us have had many things that have happened to us, but as a result, most of us just function with a dysregulated nervous system, or your sympathetic nervous system it means a sympathetic nervous system means your body is functioning from survival. You're in emergency mode. You're in fight or flight mode. You're in fear mode. And it becomes normal. I can speak for myself. I know, like, being dysregulated is familiar. It's normal. So when you're in fear mode, dysregulated mode, your body is just thinking about survival. You cannot create in survival. That is so big. Let me say it again. When you are in fear mode, when you are in dysregulated nervous system mode, you do not create. Your body, your mind is geared for fight or flight, survival, emergency. You're not creating when you're running away from the tiger. You're trying to survive. Is that so huge? Like, that is so huge. Let me say it one more time. When you are in survival mode, fear mode, fight or flight mode, you are trying to survive. You cannot create. Okay, so then let's look at manifestations. What's a manifestation? A manifestation is something we're intentionally creating to upgrade our life. We're trying to create or draw in a desire, a wish, a dream. We're not trying to create survival, right? But when you're trying to manifest, but your body is dysregulated, because we're always manifesting, like you cannot not manifest. But when you're in survival mode, fear mode, crisis mode, fight or flight mode, the only thing you can create is more of what is, because the body is designed for safety, for survival. So you have to change your nervous system. You have to change your parasympathetic, it's PSN, right? You have to change to a regulated nervous system. How do you do that? Breathing, walking on the earth, meditation, having the awareness, like, hey, I might not be regulated right now. Tapping. There's tons and tons of tools you can find for free online. Breathing is like the simplest one, and they're all free tools you can do to get your body regulated. And when your body is regulated, you get to be calm, feel relaxed, and you can create. You can create that which you want, because imagine like all of the circles, if all if you have like a tube and you're trying to create something, all of the different pieces need to be so you can see through it. So that would be no resistance. That would be a flow that it can easily attract, receive, manifest what you desire, because you're in alignment. You're calm, you're regulated, you're balanced, you're relaxed. And in that aligned state, then when you do the work of your manifesting, of thinking about what you want, of visualizing what you want, affirmations of what you want, your brain can help support the manifestations. Your brain can help you with the creation. Okay, here's another huge piece to this puzzle. We all have something called a default network. A default network. It's part of your brain that is the default network, or your set point. Okay, got that? Most humans have an average between 20 and 60,000 thoughts every day. 20 to 60,000 thoughts every day. Guess how many of those thoughts you repeat the next day, and the next day, and the next week, and the next month, and the next year? 95% of the thoughts you had yesterday, you're going to have today. 95%. 95% of those thoughts you had yesterday, you're going to have today, and you're going to have tomorrow, and you're going to have next week, and you're going to have next month. And that's why most people's lives are not changing. Does that make sense? Let me say it again. 95% of all your thoughts each and every day are repetitive of yesterday, last week, last month, last year. Guess what else? This is really going to blow your mind. Of the 95% of the regular repetitive thoughts that you have, guess how many are negative? Guess how many are fear-based? Guess how many are lack or limitation-based? Guess how many are worry-based? 80%. 80% of your daily thoughts on an average are in the negative, fear-based, worry-based. So your default setting, your set point, you're running, repeating day after day after day, same thoughts, 80% of them negative. So your self-talk is not allowing the manifestation. So even if you take 5 minutes a day and you visualize, that's great. But if you're spending 80% of the rest of your thoughts are negative, right? It's like moving a little bit forward, but then you go backwards because you're on repeat. So we want to change our default setting. How do you change the default setting? Well, the default setting only happens when you're not focused. Let me say that again. The default setting only happens when you are not focused. So when you're focusing, you go to a different part of your brain. It was Sympathetic. I didn't write it down and I don't remember the name of it. But it's a different part of your brain when you're focused, that your brain goes to this other part when you're focused. And if you're focused and you're doing your writing or you're doing your visualizing or you're telling a new story, see, that's the motorcycle, a new story of what you really, really want, you're in a focused way, an intentional way, you've left the default setting, you're at a different part of your brain, and the more sensory experience you can have, the more you embed it into your subconscious. We want to embed the stories that we want to manifest. How do you do that? Intentionally focus, intentionally writing, intentionally telling the story, intentionally visualizing, embed it. And we embed it by the more real we can make it. Does it have a smell? Does it have a sound? Can you take an object and put the frequency into the object, so every time you touch it, you're reminded of that vision, of that meditation, of that feel-good story that you were telling. The more sensory enhancement you can do with your intentional focus, your intentional creation, the more you embed it into the subconscious. Embed it into the subconscious. And here's the other trick, the other secret. Because we've got repetitive patterns, 95%, right? 80% of the 95% of the patterns are negative. So now we have to do daily, consistently, hourly, often. We have to repetitively rewire the brain. So one and done does not work for the subconscious. One and done does not work for embedding the subconscious. We need to develop a practice, a regular, daily, multiple times a day practice. It doesn't have to be long. It doesn't have to be time consuming. Some people suggest that you set in a nice sound on your phone, and every hour it will ring, and you can just have that vision that you had, remember those feelings, have that intentional focus, maybe write one sentence about what it is that you're wanting to manifest. Take 1 minute or less every hour. Repetitive. We've got, most of us have years and years of reprogramming to do. So if we make this practice of whatever, it can be big, it can be small, just the more you do it, the more repetitive you are, and the more sensory experience you can have, the more you really anchor it in. The body really likes big emotions. That's why your memories are usually from big emotions. How many of the big emotions are positive? How many of the big emotions were negative? See, and once we realize your default setting is your job. Your default setting is your job. Your thoughts, your thinking, your stories, your writing, your practices, that's your job. And then when you intentionally, let's recap what we've said, we want to intentionally get to a regulated nervous system. Through breathing, through earthing, through sound. We want to get our body so it's at the I don't know why I can't say that word. It's PSN. We want to get to PSN, a regulated nervous system. And at that regulated nervous system, that's when we want to do our practice. That's when we want to visualize it. We want to have focused intention on what it is we desire. And then we want to do it repetitively, as often as you can. Not time consuming. Creating the life of your dreams should not be time consuming, right? It should feel exciting, following your highest excitement, and intentional. If you get something that you're inspired by, that's because it's meant for you. It's in your heart. And then now we need the actions that pair with it, to embed it in our subconscious mind, to embed that in our subconscious mind. And then what happens? Our default network changes. Your default network can increase, the set point can increase its automatic thoughts. Automatic thoughts. And you know what that means? That just means those thoughts you have when you're driving your car, those thoughts you have when you're doing, cleaning your house. You're not in a focused state. So you're just randomly thinking the thoughts. So how about introduce new thoughts? And that's another reason I love AI. Every day I ask AI, like, help me come up with some new thoughts that I can ponder today. That's why I love podcasts. That's why I love being introduced to new speakers, new information. I am a curious person, which is great. My highest excitement is learning. And now that I understand that this is so important to change my default network, oh, you better believe I'm doing it all the time. I'm off the charts excited. I'm creating like crazy. I went to my website. I keep changing my website name. So I'm really working on quantummanifestnow.com. Quantummanifestnow.com. I'm creating so many amazing things. Oh, I'll make another video about something I'm really, really excited that I'm creating. So please like and subscribe. I hope you are happy. I hope you enjoy the beautiful ocean. Isn't she gorgeous? How did I get so lucky? Thanks for listening.